Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hey, come on in here. It's time for us to get started. Time to get some inspiration, some motivation, gets fired up. But when we know when tragedy happens, we know that we can take a little bit of something to get us through the other side. Remember, the old saying is that when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you know you made it through. I had this little piece in there. See the light at the end of the tunnel, and you know it's not another train coming. You know you made it through. All right, today we want to get started here. Well, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. All right, but not so much fun. Fun telling the story, probably not so much fun going through. But this gentleman here has gotten hit by lightning and survived. Justin Briggs, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, all right. We talked a little bit before we got started here, and it's not a club I want to be involved in.
No, I don't recommend it.
But there you go. But you told me, and I wouldn't have bet my lottery ticket on it. But I guess it's like winning the lottery if you get hit. I thought it was rare when you win the lottery. It's rare. Hit by lightning, I thought it was rare. But you're telling me it's more common than you would think. So
yeah, it is. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. Has scientists figured out why some people get hit and why some people don't? I'm sure part of it, again, is like the lottery hitting. It just, boom, it just happened and that was over with. But when someone gets hit multiple times, have they figured out a reason why?
I don't know. I didn't do too much research into that when I was laying in the hospital. I just kind of wanted to see, like you said, how rare, not rare it is, and, that it wouldn't happen again. But, there are some people who have it multiple times, and I don't want that. So.
Yeah. So, well, you go ahead and start off. Tell us your story. Go on and get us caught up where we belong.
Yeah, so it happened about 10 years ago now. Actually, the beginning of June, it'll be the 10th anniversary. It was on June 3rd. So I was in the mountains in Georgia. I was working as a guide, hiking out in the Appalachian Mountains. And I had been there for years, been through countless storms. And, I usually walk around during the storms to keep track of all our participants and make sure, everybody's safe in their shelters, and don't really think anything of it. And just happened to be that one storm. Like I was saying before, it was a lot of hail. So anytime there's a hailstorm and thunderstorm in the summer, I try and stay inside. But I'm not entirely sure still to this day if it was from the ground or upward lightning, which I found out about after, just growing up, thought there was only one kind of lightning. It strikes the ground and that's it. And after some research, there's quite a few different types of lightning. So what I found is where we were had a bunch of strikes around us. There's the tallest tree, and it blows the bark off of trees when they get hit. But there were multiple strikes, and the tree that when I went back out there after the fact, because I wanted to see kind of what happened, once I was better, that tree was way behind us. And I remember seeing, a flash and a strike in front of us. So like I said, it can travel through the ground and impact It can also, once the ground is struck a bunch of times, the charge builds up in that location, and then it can send a bolt from the ground to the clouds. So I'm not entirely sure, the type of lightning that happened, but it came up through my left foot and entered my body and didn't go out the other side, so absorbed a huge amount of energy. And I wouldn't say paralyzed. I guess immobilized would probably be a better word. To the point where every muscle was tight and frozen and couldn't move for
Oh, I bet.
quite a
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, all that energy, seized up every muscle, and was, just laying in a pool of hailstones, and couldn't move for a while. It took me a couple minutes to kind of gain my senses again and figure out what happened. Was curled up in the fetal position, and luckily was able to stay conscious. A lot of people lose consciousness, or it affects other systems. And so after laying there for a while and kind of assessing, I was able to move my head and my neck and then my chest, and had to regroup with the other staff members because I was away from everybody. Once I was able to, kind of army crawled back to everybody, and we eventually got we had a satellite phone, called for help, had people come out. I think it was probably an hour before we had emergency services. Still wasn't able to move my legs. They were the kind of worst affected. Another couple hours to a trauma center, and spent a few days in the hospital.
I thought it was interesting you mentioned the different types of lightning strike.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have thought lightning's lightning.
Yeah.
But the way the world is, there is multiple types of everything.
Yeah.
So, but I wouldn't have thought about that until you said that. So,
yeah, there's even it's only been discovered, recently with the advent of airplanes, but above large storms, there's I think it's red sprites that are giant streaks that shoot upwards from storms into space, and then I think it's blue giants or something similar, that are the same, different clouds at different elevations, and the lightning goes up into the upper atmosphere.
now does when it entered your foot
Yeah.
and traveled through your body, did it leave? Because you hear stories, people say it left the lightning trail,
Yep.
track
Yep.
through your body. Most people say it fades away, but
Yes.
so could you see where it entered and exit and the trail?
Yeah, didn't have an exit, unfortunately, because that's a lot of times a better situation is when it goes and travels on the outside and you get a really bad burn, or it goes in a foot or an arm and comes out the other side. So just went in my left foot and didn't exit. That's why I think it was so detrimental. But yeah, there was a burn scar going up my left foot and up my leg, and it didn't last too long. I would say less than 6 months to a year. It was probably gone. I did get a tattoo of a lightning bolt on my foot.
There you go.
Commemorate that. But yeah,
who's that character, Shazam, that has the lightning
with the
bolts on
lightning
him?
bolt.
Yeah. So you need to get you a shirt with all them lightning bolts, and every time you tell a story, undoing your shirt, and that's what you need to start doing.
Yeah, people always ask about my tattoo on my foot, and then it starts the story.
I'd want to get the whole tattoo all the way across, come up my foot and leg and whatever else, just to leave it there. So now, how many times have you been hidden?
Just the once, and I
Just that one time.
Yes.
One time's enough, that's for sure.
Yeah, what's interesting is realizing, so I guess the power of words, it wasn't until telling the story to people after the fact that I realized about a year before it happened, I asked for it to happen. So I was talking to my wife and, sitting out on the porch and during a summer storm. And I've always been fascinated with lightning. It's just so powerful. And I don't really remember what we were talking about, but basically, just kind of random remark, I told her that I wondered what it would feel like to be struck by lightning and to feel that much power and energy. And, she kind of laughed it off and, didn't really pay much mind to it. And neither did I until it happened and realizing I asked for this to happen. And so now I know the power of words, and
Yeah.
I only ask for good things to happen, and I don't want to experience it again. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's amazing how you put things out,
yeah,
how somehow and it's not going, it may or may not come back today, but it's amazing over time when you sit and look back, I thought about that 5 years ago.
yeah. Have you
Yeah.
experienced that?
I've had some of the stuff what you call what goes around comes around,
Yeah.
incidents. Yeah. So, um, yeah, yeah, a little bit, but not anything like yours. So just little old things.
Yeah.
So, um, now you said you were in mobile. So once they got you to the hospital, got you looked at and everything, how fast or how long did it take to get you back?
So I would say by the time I was at the hospital, I could, really move everything, feel everything. Because, I think it had some nerve damage as well, because there was a short period where I couldn't like sense or feel anything either. Like being in the hailstones, you're surrounded by ice, you should feel the cold, and I couldn't feel anything either.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think just the shock to the system, eventually kind of wore off, and I was able to regain the sense of touch and like my movement and everything. The biggest thing once I was at the hospital was, which I didn't even realize was an issue after the fact, is some muscle enzyme when like you work out and your muscles break down,
Mm-hmm.
so they can build back up. There's a enzyme that's produced that they wanted to check and make sure is, I guess, processed in a safe way, because it goes
Mm-hmm.
through liver or kidneys. And they said the test that they were running, it was similar to if I had ran a marathon in terms of the effort that my muscles had gone through
Mm-hmm.
in that period, but condensed down, to just a couple minutes. So,
But it shows signs of that
yeah,
um,
so
over a long stretch, even though it's the short term.
yeah,
It showed that as if had run that marathon.
right. And so, getting fluids and kind of cleansing everything out and just running tests to make sure, kidneys and liver and everything's functioning well. Had a ruptured eardrum from the concussive force. So checking on that, which, there's really nothing. I've had that before, actually, a ruptured eardrum. So I only have I don't know exact percentages because I've never had it tested, but my one eardrum is definitely less. When I listen to headphones, I can tell, maybe 70% of the other one.
So when your wife's arguing, you try to put your bad ear to that side. That way you can always come back with, I didn't hear you.
I didn't hear it. She knows. Oh, I was talking into the bad ear.
Right. She knows which ear to go to.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So we talked, briefly before we got started that my doctor, two of his children,
Yeah.
got hit by lightning at the same time.
Yeah.
They went underneath the big tree during a storm to get out of the rain, and sure enough, the tree got hit, and it of course bounced off the tree and hit them.
Yeah.
And one of them, it actually heart stopped, and they had to go in and pound the, top of the ribs, the sternum,
Yeah.
to get the heart beating again, and got them going. So both of them are they're living. I mean, they made it through it.
Yeah.
But I remember he had talked about the lightning bolt, how it went through, and you can see the trail, when it went through the body. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a severe burn pattern. I think it's Lichtenberg or something like that is the name of the pattern that it forms, which is basically what, lightning looks like. The path that it takes in the sky is the same as the pattern on your body, which is interesting.
I can understand when they told you about parts of your body looked like you'd run a marathon, of course, in this short amount of time with the lightning bolts. I can understand that because we're a big old bundle of nerves and electrodes, impulses going through our whole body. And then we got interrupted with the higher voltage, then everything just scrambling around, moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So yeah, I can understand that's the results it would show.
Yeah. Well, at least I guess the best person to be there is a doctor, for, unfortunately, it's kids, but, if there's going to be somebody there.
Well, the doctor wasn't there. Go back to the story. He wasn't there. The kids were wherever, and one of the other kids, children hit the brother. Wow. And got started, and then he got to the hospital. And of course, then Dad, the doctor, came in to help evaluate.
Oh, okay.
So, no, he wasn't there at the time. It just they knew it. Being doctors' children, they knew what to do anyway. At least to attempt.
Yeah, that's actually the most successful CPR rate is lightning strikes, because it's just like you said, things get interrupted. And then if you start CPR right away, it has a super high, success rate of bringing people back.
Good. That's good news. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's back to understanding. You break that that high impulse rhythm that's in there now, and get it back to normal. Yeah, I can see that then.
Yeah, I'm just glad that was not the case. Like I said, I was. Stayed, alert and stayed conscious. Don't want to, second guess and, say, what if this or what if that or what could have happened, so it happened how it happened. And, I'm actually, it sounds strange, I'm grateful that it did happen. Like I said, it taught me a lesson. It was a really hard lesson to learn. But, now I know what to put out there, and, the power of words. And
isn't it a shame that when we live through something, we say, I'm glad I was able to get through that, live it. It's a great learning lesson, great. No, but you go, no, I wouldn't want it at the very beginning. I wouldn't ask for it and beg for it. You know what I'm saying? For example, me, I got my neck broke playing football.
Yeah.
And I would not recommend it on anybody. I wouldn't ask for it. But I got to admit, my life's been pretty good since being paralyzed. And I tell people that I'm glad that, not that I'm paralyzed, but I'm glad I'm paralyzed during this time frame of life with technology, with me and you being able to talk like we are, being able to drive cars, being able to do, everything. It's not been too long ago, 75 years ago, Hitler getting rid of people that were disabled.
Right.
And so it's not that long ago. But again, I'm glad I'm in this time frame of life, not earlier.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. And like you said, there are so many things that you've had, the ability to do now because of technology. So yeah, it's definitely the best time to, have a struggle and go through that struggle.
And it's a shame that sometimes we have to go through some struggles in life to remind us how strong we really are. Because there's a lot of times we're going, I can't do that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't. And then you go through a trouble, you get through with it and get to the, the other side and you're going, wow, I'm stronger than I thought. Well, it's not what you thought. It's a reminder to let you to remind yourself how strong you really are.
Yeah, that's what's hard in those low points is recognizing that and having hope and strength and support. Because those
now the Guinness Book of World Record, Roy Sullivan was said to get hit how many times?
Is it 7?
7 times from 1942 to 1977. He's been nicknamed the human lightning conductor and a human lightning rod. So can you imagine once, like you said, is enough, but 7 times. And he was like you, wasn't he? You said you were a guide. And he was
it definitely happens, the more you're outside.
Ranger.
Yeah. The more you're outside, obviously, the more, prone it is. If you are in your car and, indoors a lot, then obviously your chances are much smaller. But yeah, people that, work outside for a living are much more susceptible.
Yep. So, and then was looking, because I saw this told you I got those YouTube shorts now, or TikTok does those shorts. And one of them, the guy did a thing about the unluckiest man and hit by lightning, said he got hit. Whoops. His name is Walter, don't see his, Summerford, that he got hit 3 times by lightning, but when he died, his gravestone got hit by lightning.
Yeah.
So 4 times, 4 times he got hit, but 3 of them was when he's alive. When he's dead and gone, lightning still found him.
Yeah. I did have, it was several months after the strike happened, was, outside still working. And I had, it's called a dry strike, where there's, it's not raining or storming where you are.
Oh yeah.
There's a storm off in the distance, and I could see where the strike was out of the corner of my eye, maybe less than 100 yards away. So, it was loud, wasn't affected at all. Extremely loud, but it was, you hear stories about, people outside or at the beach. It happens a lot where there's a storm off in the distance and then lightning strikes. So it can come 10, 15,
miles,
20 miles
away
from the storm and reach out. So, it doesn't even have to be, it's raining and, there's thunderclouds right above you. It can be that far away. And, like I said, after the first one, I was like, I don't want anything to do with it. After that kind of, scare again, I was like, I don't want to be anywhere near it. I want to be,
I hear you,
inside and observe it safely.
Again, you can tell people you won the, well, you won, but you won the lottery in the wrong way. So,
I had a lot of people in the hospital asking me if I was going to get lottery tickets.
That's right. Yeah. So, all right, I was going to ask you, you mentioned about some hear loss and damage.
Yeah.
Any other long-term effect?
I'd have some nerve damage. I did a lot of rehab in the first year, which I think helped out. I did this laser therapy because I was having, nerve pain and joint issues, foot, ankle, knee, everything up the leg. So this laser therapy really helped in that first year. Had some issues with nerves more in the sense of muscles, and just needing to kind of make sure, I kind of keep everything balanced, and to not have any kind of contractions or anything like that.
Hmm.
Where obviously it's not as bad as it was when it happened. But if I'm, have, dehydrated, or, electrolytes or anything is off
Yeah.
like that, it happened a lot in the first couple of years when I was kind of still learning, my new normal, how to kind of, uh, be as healthy as possible with these new challenges. So I would say the first years were pretty difficult, and then the last few years have been really good, where I know how to kind of take care of myself, and not have any of those issues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, you need to get your autobiography and title it "The Human Lightning Rod," or something to get everybody's, attention right off the bat. So
yeah.
I
I mean,
just
that's
find it, I
it's
find
only
it
one
remarkable.
of the.
Someone's been through this.
So I don't, want to experience major things, but I have, spent a lot of time outside, and at the same program, uh, there was a tornado that came through,
Mm,
and knocking over trees, and was fine during that, thankfully. Another year we had a forest fire um, start kind of near us, person not taking care of their campfire, and went over and was able to, with the help of some other people, extinguish that. But that was, pretty terrifying, being in, a huge area set
yeah.
on fire and not really knowing what to do, and breathing in smoke. And uh, another time in Joshua Tree National Park, camping with people, had a what's it called, a flash flood come through, and
Mm,
take away my tent.
yeah.
And so yeah, there's definitely been some strong Mother Nature uh, instances, but
But definitely the lightning rod, the lightning thing would get my attention.
yeah,
The other stuff, I mean, I think I could avoid, try to with the flash flood,
yeah,
if that's a chance that's happening, the people being goofy with their fire. Oh, I don't understand that. As many California fires they've had lately,
yeah,
and it just people just doing the wrong thing.
yeah,
I don't understand it.
yeah,
So, but this is one thing again, the lightning you definitely had no control over,
right.
and it just says, "Hey, check out old Justin here. Let's play with him today." so, well, I'm glad you made it through everything. I'm glad
Me too.
the wife treats you better now. Of course,
She does.
it's
Yeah,
been 10 years later, so she may have got back to normal.
yeah. I actually, every time somebody asks about it, and in relation to her, her take on it, um, I like talking about the moment that I was in the hospital and I had to call her and let her know.
Mm.
So our youngest daughter was born a week before this happened. So I had to go
Oh
back to
wow.
work, and my wife was, at home with our oldest, who was 3 at the time, and a newborn. Luckily, my mom was able to come and help out, because the schedule for work is we would work a week at a time, so we would be in the field, in the forest,
Hmm.
for a week at a time. So I would uh, sometimes be able to get service and call her and kind of check in with her. Uh, and so when I was in the hospital and going to call her, uh, she, I think it was only 2 days from when I had left. So she was just kind of checking in, and I didn't say anything when I first got on the phone, and she just kind of launched into how her day was going. And she's a week postpartum, and
Oh
has all
yeah.
these issues, and she was talking about how hard her day was, and it was, She
Oh
had
yeah, no doubt.
C-section, and she just had major surgery essentially for the birth, and is in pain and on meds and digestion and all the things that come along with it. So I think I let her kind of tell me about her day and decompress for a good 5 to 10 minutes before I
And
was
he
wanting
said,
to
"Honey,
inform her of my situation.
there you go. Honey, not that I want to try to one up you.
But I
I'm
am.
not I'm not trying to do that, but yeah, but I am.
And
Yeah.
she thought I was kidding, she thought I was just, trying to make a joke about how hard her day is
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
how,
Oh,
just,
I could understand her kidding because you're talking to her.
yeah,
I would think, and of course, knowing other things with my doctor, his kids out, but I would be thinking you're out
somebody else is
unconscious
going to
and
call.
everybody's taking care of him. They're trying to get you, back to wherever that's what I would be thinking. If
Yeah.
you're calling me, then it can't be that bad.
Yeah.
So, wow. Yeah,
But yeah,
that as soon as you told her that though, that had to been thinking in her head, I'm gonna be a single parent, raising these kids and because not knowing what's going on.
yeah. No,
Wow.
she was more upset that I let her talk instead of opening with,
Yeah,
"Hey,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
in the
yeah.
hospital."
When she found out, why did you tell me? Well, you need to
It's
open up,
just
honey.
how, I wanted to let her vent, and
That's right. That's
I'm
right.
okay. It's not an emergency, so I'm good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow. What that's easier said when you say, well, it's not an emergency. I
Yeah.
just get hit by lightning. So all right, Justin, my man. I appreciate being on here and sharing your story. Now,
Yeah.
you told me you just come out with a book here. It's not necessarily related with your story.
Yeah, I had the idea for a sci-fi series after the lightning strike and thought, well, I'm, sitting here healing, doing rehab, so I could start writing. Did the first book, took a few years to get it out, The Inevitable Transition. And then this, The Lesser Evil, is the sequel to it. It's part of a series, started on the third one recently. It's inspired by AI and Android, so it's follows a family getting their first Android in the future, and kind of um, similar stories to iRobot, if you've ever seen that.
I haven't, no, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm just as much scared of lightning and this new technology
Right,
where the robots and androids are going to be running our household, basically.
right.
So um, I'm afraid we're going to get into areas we're going to get out of control of.
Yeah, that's a lot of what this series takes a look at, is the relationships with people and technology, and the struggles and the successes and challenges. And yeah, it's been interesting to write and kind of have some, science fiction to it, but also there's a lot of reality that comes around. I started writing it in 2015, 2016, and then as, technology progresses so quickly, things are becoming a reality instead of, science fiction.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So all right, Justin, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And
Yeah.
well, I truly enjoyed your story. I'm glad that you have, gotten as back to normal as possible.
Definitely.
So that I'm glad that glad your wife was able to get everything and for her
Yeah.
to, back to normal and
Yeah.
with kids and everything too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We're
and
good.
thank goodness for like I said, mom and grandparents to
Definitely.
step in.
Yes.
So for that. So all right, Justin, I appreciate it. Throw out here all your social media. I know you got a coaching that you do for people, consultation. So if you want to throw out all your how they can get a hold of you and stuff like that, and we'll go from here.
Yeah, the website for coaching is simplebriggscoaching.com. Working with people who are trying to go through major changes, major transformations, kind of take all the things that I've learned and experienced through the years, and help individuals, struggling, overcoming things. and that's been great. I've been doing that for a few years now, and being able to see the progress in people, who are willing to kind of go through that struggle, like you said, and come out the other side, and have that support, and be that support for people has been really great.
Definitely got to have a support system.
Yeah.
You can't, two things, but I would like to say, one, you've heard along always hard, you can't win the Kentucky Derby riding a mule. So
Yeah.
you got to have the thoroughbred, which you got to
Yep.
have the trainers,
Yep.
you got to have the people to breeding, you got to have a team. And of course, they're not a baseball player, can't win the World Series if you don't have the team.
Right.
Which everybody, again, supporting each other. Some people more dominant in certain areas and stuff like the same thing in life. Have a supporting group. Some
Yeah.
people are better than you in some areas that can help you, where again, you're better in some areas, you can help them.
Right.
So, all right, Justin, appreciating everything. Everybody else, hey, but we'll put all this information, but your website and stuff in the show notes.
Thanks.
Help people find it easier for you. All right, Justin, we know that people are hurting and struggling today, and you can leave us with a positive message. That'd be a blessing, man.
Definitely. My big thing is realizing that in any situation, any event, anything that's happening, even thoughts, that there's always options. There's always, it's not this or that. The idea of is really powerful. When you're thinking, instead of this or that, it can be this and that. Both things are possible. Both things are a reality. That things aren't so black and white. There's lots of in between, and there's so many possibilities.
There he is. You're right about that. There's a lot of possibilities. Again, we can find our way.
Yeah.
Assuming we can be open-minded. And the biggest thing I found out with me, I had to learn after I got paralyzed, that I had to swallow my sinful pride and ask for help.
Right.
That's I was so independent, this athlete doing everything I was doing. And when I couldn't do, it took me forever to learn to ask for help.
Yeah.
So people want to help you, but they can't help if they don't know what to do.
Right.
All right, Justin, hey, I appreciate it. And
thank you.
You and your family, y'all take care of yourself. Hey, everybody share us out with someone, that like to hear a story about lightning strikes. So, and how we come through. So everybody else, I'm Dr. James Purdue, the professor of perseverance. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.